Mannington Commercial BioSpec Md with MCare antimicrobial and Quantum Guard HP finish provides for a high-performance, low-maintenance floor covering that is just perfect for healthcare environments. But like all floor coverings, BioSpec Md requires proper site preparation and product installation in order to maximize the product benefits, particularly when it comes to seam cutting and treatments. The preferred seam treatment is heat welding, so let's go over exactly what is required with this procedure. First is the cutting and fastening of the seam itself. The seam may be cut using either a recessed scribe method or by trace cutting, but either method must result in a net seam cut, not gapped or too tight. The adhesive used to fasten the sheets must be allowed to cure or set up for at least 12 hours to be sure the moisture in the adhesive has dissipated. Failure to provide this cure time may result in bond failure at the seam line, which shows up as a split seam. This may not become evident for months after the installation is completed. Next, the seam cut must be grooved using either a power or hand groover. It's important that the groove be centered on the seam cut and be approximately 2/3 the thickness of the flooring product. Sufficient time should be allocated so that the seams can be grooved and welded in the same day to prevent contamination of the groove. Even when using a power groover, it will be necessary to groove the seam at the walls with a hand groover. The weld rod is a round 4mm PVC thread that will melt into the groove and secure the seam edges. The weld rod may be color coordinating or contrasting with the color of the flooring product. There are also camouflage weld rod colors coordinated with all BioSpec Md colorways. This heat welding process is the same for all Mannington Commercial homogeneous and heterogeneous sheet flooring. The weld rod will be melted into the groove by using a heat gun and a specialized nozzle. The heat gun will melt the seam edges and the weld rod to create a thermo-weld, which fuses the sheets together. Always test the heat setting on a scrap of flooring before proceeding to weld the entire seam. Cut a length of weld rod several feet short of the total seam length. Insert the rod into the preheated nozzle and, beginning at the wall, melt the rod into the groove. Heat welding is a function of temperature and speed. The rod should be well bonded to the sheets without scorching the edges of the seam cut. There should be a slight ridge or crinkle at both edges of the rod. Once the first length of rod is welded, skive and groove the last 1 or 2 inches of the rod to create a ramp. Cut a length of weld rod to complete the seam, starting at the opposite wall and extending up the ramp of the first weld. The weld rod should be trimmed in 2 passes when using a spatula knife. While the rod is still warm, skive the first pass using the spatula knife with the trim plate. Once the rod is cooled to room temperature, the rod can be trimmed flush to the edge of the sheet vinyl. The trimmed rod should be heat glazed by directing a flow of hot air from the heat gun over the rod. Chemical glazing can be achieved by applying an application of Mannington Commercial MCS 42 seam sealer over the rod, and then wiping with a clean white cloth. Do not wipe off the seam sealer when using camouflage weld rod. To make the finished welded seam even more compatible with the BioSpec Md High Performance Wear Layer, Mannington Commercial has developed an easy-to-apply Quantum Guard HP pen. Simply run the felt tip down the seam to cover the seam area with a protective coating. Be certain to thoroughly coat the entire length of the seam. This Quantum Guard HP pen is to be used with all seams in all sheet products with Quantum Guard HP wear layers, where the delayed maintenance procedure will be used. This coating protects the seam area from dirt and grime pickup. Heat welding is a specialized technique that requires an experienced, skilled installer, but when done correctly, it provides for continuous, watertight, hygienic seams in Mannington Commercial BioSpec Md floors. For more detailed installation instructions, visit our website at manningtoncommercial.com or contact our Technical Services Department at 1-800-241-2262, option 3.